Just make sure we have the correct stream. Good day, everybody. I hope you can see and hear us.
Let's see.
Yes.
Are we?
We are live. We are here.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for doing everything that you did to get us live, brother. And apologies to everyone who practiced the wonderful virtue patience and communicated in the chat.
Okay, now I'm really confused. Are we still on the same YouTube link with the same chat and everything?
We seem to be.
Wow.
Yes, we are. We are on the same one.
How can that be?
Everybody can see us and hear
whatever.
us, and it's all beautiful and fine.
Sorry for the delay. I'm not the most technical guy. And Zoom actually have been giving me a really hard time lately, so I have to look into it. Can't be that unstable every time it's something.
Yeah,
but now we're here. Thank you,
the
Josh.
restream.
Thank you, Josh, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I have missed you and missed everyone.
Yes.
In some time.
Been a while, and I see we already had some people in the chat. Those who had the patience, we just were trying your virtues. So those who had the patience are still here.
You may have the patience, but have you mastered the other 6? We shall find out today. Now, it's wonderful to have you all with us. Thank you for joining us. I know that you said you had some things to bring to light at the start of this show.
Yes, I have a few things I've been playing around with. You see, I found one of those glucose meters, those who the diabetics use to check their blood sugar. I was playing around with that a little bit. I found, okay, I made some notes. I'm going to be careful, call it science, but it was an interesting experiment. So what I basically found out was that I have a more or less normal blood sugar in comparison to what's being looked at as normal. Anyway, normally mornings I was probably like mid 4, like 4.5, 4.6. Okay, this is, I'm not going to mention that every time, but this is MMLO or strange unit. But anyway, it's 4.9 in the morning. The first experiment I did was honey with tea. No, so tea with honey, or honey with tea, because it was quite a lot of honey. So, but that took my blood sugar up to 8.1. So a significant rise, and it wasn't much that took it to those levels actually. I noticed that, for example, one of those smoothies that I've been kind of living off more or less the last 2 years, at least a couple of meals a day, took me up to about 7. I tried with bananas, and bananas took me to vary a little bit, but 7.3, I believe. No, 7.7. 7.7. So it's like, how do you say that? 4, 5, 9, 6, 7. So 3 points, let's say, rise in blood sugar. And then I did something interesting. I did the same things, but I took it with leafy greens, like the sugar, like the fruits with the leafy greens, and it actually cut the blood sugar rise with 50% almost. Just having some leaves on the side with the fruit. So that was interesting. Another thing, we had the birthday, or Carolina and the birthdays, and then I saw my chance to check this glucometer with the real sugar. So that day was mostly cakes and birthday food, and that took my blood sugar only up to 6.8, so a bit lower than fruits. And now we're getting into the questions, because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Let's say doing the fruits, seeing that blood sugar rise, doing the real sugar and not seeing it getting that high, because it can be in the background, it can be just producing more insulin from the sugar that keeps it lower. So it let's say the insulin doesn't get in the way too much with fruits, maybe, as with normal sugars. Christian, the guy I had the interview with, who wrote this book, Food as Medicine. He said something interesting, which I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I should never have shown the book.
It will come back. Don't worry.
However,
interesting read.
But what my point was, that or what was interesting was that the green leaves kept it down. It didn't get quite that high with normal sugar, probably because you produce more insulin. I would assume that okay, let's just to put out the question: does fruit affect insulin like sugar in the same way as sugar? Also, it rises the blood sugar, but does it create the response from insulin on the same way, do you think?
Fruit is made of like glucose and fructose. Fructose doesn't go straight into the bloodstream, it goes through the liver. And when it goes into the liver, it converts into glucose and glycogen. And there's some lactate, which is like a lactic acid, that it's just a conversion. What happens in the body when it converts this fructose into glucose, it produces this lactic acid, but the body deals with that another way. So essentially the liver and all the organs and the muscles store the glycogen, and glucose is then sent into the muscles. So I think a liver can store between 100 and 400 grams of glucose in it as glycogen for any type of activity. So when you're having a more higher fructose in the fruit, it's essentially not going straight into the bloodstream and does not need insulin. If the glucose goes into the bloodstream straight away, it needs insulin. So you kind of have to look at the individual fruits themselves and see which is more fructose based or more glucose. White sugar itself is like sucrose, which is a 50-50 mix of fructose and glucose. So half of it's going to go into the bloodstream, half of it's going to go into the liver. But the difference is with the white sugar, obviously, it's man-made, toxic. It goes through lots of processes, so it's not necessarily recognized. So there's an instability that will happen a slight later on with the acidity it causes. And even though it may seem to be on a blood glucose meter kind of balancing for you, it's behind that really causes the issues. And I think having it as a 50-50 mix is kind of perfectly balanced for, the illusion of balance with it, which is not a good source of fuel. So just look at the individual fruits that you're consuming. If you're looking at high exercise and you want something high in glucose, you just make sure you go for them. But the body's more than capable. I mean, you could use your liver stores in 45 minutes of intense exercise anyway. And we need this consistent replenishment of glucose. And if we don't have it, then we go into the gluconeogenesis, which is found from breaking down fats and then proteins after. This is why the fruits are such an incredible source of fuel, because it doesn't need to go through that process. It's already readily available in there. We're having to convert. Sorry.
Because I'm trying to get my head around this fat storing mechanism.
Yeah.
Insulin is what is triggering fat storage, right? Or a part of it anyway. Or like, so blood sugar rises, insulin comes in, and there it will.
It all depends on what you're consuming around the time of the insulin spiking. So if you're consuming, let's say, a lot of fats at the same time as you're consuming a lot of sugar, number one, this is one of the causes of insulin resistance, because fat kind of inhibits and messes up the insulin within the bloodstream and causes a resistance to the insulin. So the body has to produce more, and it's just unstable there. So it's consuming fats together with glucose or sugar that will get the insulin to store it, because you could imagine insulin is a nutrient delivery service of such. It shoots the nutrients into the cells.
But would you kind of recommend to try to keep the blood sugar as steady and as low as possible? Like,
not really. I think the Western world has created a number system that is irrelevant to people that are living on a natural baseline diet. When somebody has the unstable blood sugar, is because there's some insulin resistance and the body's not functioning properly, but it will function properly with the natural food. So you find the best remedy for anyone who's diabetic is going to be like a fruit dominant diet, but adding in foods that are natural will cause this to go out of balance anyway. So your blood sugar is naturally going to rise when you eat a meal, for sure, but then it's going to stabilize itself because it just likes a certain number within the system, just like the body likes to be about 7.3, 7.2 pH level. You can put something acid in and it'll balance itself. You can put something alkalized and it'll balance itself. But if you can give it the foods that keep it in balance, you're not going to cause any deterioration of them. You're going to live in a regenerative way rather than just looking at numbers on a system. So it's so very different, It's like saying a calorie is the same as it is in a banana or an apple as it would be with inside a cream cake. Very different.
Yeah.
Very different. It's not something you should look at for like regular health, but it's interesting for you on your own journey just to check how the blood sugar is affected. For sure.
Yeah, I was just curious. I just coincidentally found the apparatus, and I just bought some sticks that go with it, to kind of. So I just did a few weeks of trying to measure and like compared like with the leafy greens besides the fruits. I read somewhere, I think I had the book somewhere. I think I talked about it before. Maybe it was in the Q&As in the X-Fam, but it was a book about a Swede called Dan Urbom made a book called Wild Growths or Ville Växter, wild plants, let's say. They're mostly
eating food from the wild. Is that what it was about? Yeah.
So yeah. So that was basically centered around our neck of the woods, let's say Sweden, Denmark, Norway, that kind of, like, say, forest and nature and these things. So of course a lot of fermenting and those kind of things. But in that book, I read that monkeys and gorillas and have been spotted packing their fruit inside leaves, like they make like a taco or some
a wrap.
Yeah.
So I think they do consume about 2% leafy greens. I think that's the figure that's given.
Because in that book it said that was where I found the interest. They said that was they ate the leaves to keep the blood sugar, not getting the spikes in the blood sugar.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's been several gorillas as scientific doctors in the last 20 years. I feel like you would benefit on not spiking blood sugar if this was your goal by consuming leafy greens, because it's going to interact with the absorption for sure. Because the body, the system has another matrix to deal with, so this will dampen the initial assimilation of it. And we all know leafy greens are very difficult to assimilate. And when you're adding in other things to your food, you will shorten you will lengthen or shorten the type of digestion process depending on the food you consume. But leafy greens, they contain certain enzymes and acids that aren't the most efficient for the body. So I'm presuming that converting or having a food with something like a phytic acid or something like this will then inhibit the absorption, which
Would that
may be
be
beneficial for some people. And I think berries also do the same.
would that be lectins? Called lectins? Because I will come back to that. The lectins anyway. So yeah, that was kind of my my little adventure with the glucometer. Then just let me. Yeah, and like I said, I also had the chat with this Christian, the author of the book.
Oh yeah.
And it was most of it resonated, like to the point that okay, you can probably heal yourself with the points and tricks and tips in this book, because he himself had the history of psoriasis and different issues, right? So, and almost exclusively, or I think exclusively, he healed himself with like a vegan diet. He was into this macrobiotic kind of style, which I believe Hippocrates also was a fan of. Not Hippocrates, but
You mean, are you saying macro or micro?
macrobiotic.
Yeah.
It's probably okay. Let me just where did I find that? It's kind of a, after my memory, diet based on local produce, seasonal, natural, preferably raw.
Yeah, I mean that's always going to be the best way if you can get your local farmer that's not really, in the commercial world to produce the food for you or better yourself. And again, in your local environment, you're only having access to a limited supply of foods. Now, if someone feels that that's more beneficial than having something, flown over, imported over, that's a fruit and has more, balance with the body, it's the opinion of, each individual, which is just the way of life. And I find that anyone coming from a standard diet who moves to any type of natural diet is going to significantly find themselves in more balance than they were previously, and feel a big improvement in their well-being, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay, this is a final. Okay, I'm going to jump from that, because his interview and this book also led me to dusting off the old blood type diet. Did you remember that? You okay? It was like a fad in the 90s. If somebody of the listeners remember or have been in contact with the blood type diet, please give us your 5 cents. However, there was not he was not it's difficult to say. I will say it in Norwegian, naturopath. So a naturopath.
A naturopath.
Naturopath. Thank you. Going in the footsteps of his dad, who was working on blood. And they found a correlation between blood types and diet quite extensively, and to the point that they can like kind of pinpoint what they divided up in 3 groups, like medicinal, neutral, and toxic, let's say, like food groups and types. And I don't know what to say, but I will say it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting, and it got quite much focus, and but like so many things, it dies down, it drowns or it dies down. However, what I can say is that I'm looking for this factor, because what I observe is that it has to be some individual factor in this picture. How come this diet works for you but not you? And for you, this is very good, but this is not for you. So that's why I find it intriguing, right? So, if we are to believe this, then A is kind of let's divide it in really, let's say, boxes. They are a bit fluctuating, but so A would be kind of the vegan. Blood type A would be the vegan.
Yeah, okay.
Blood type B would be kind of a hybrid. Like I'm a B. I'm not supposed to have, for example, chicken, which I have eaten probably too much of in my life for proteins back in the days. And corn, and it's very, like, Caroline is A, right? So we can't eat the same food if this is correct. So that's not so easy to work around, but we'll see. And then you have O.
I'm trying to find it, but my computer's kind of zoomed in. It won't zoom back out on it. Let me see if I can get. You got a
He's
list of
called
A,
James
B, A and B and O.
James D'Amo, I think his name is, the guy, this doctor, and the blood type diet from mid 90s book started to come out.
Yeah.
And blood type O or 0 would be the carnivore, but not it's not that boxed, but it's kind of, mainly meat for the O's, mainly vegetables, vegetarian diet for the A's, and a bit of everything for the B's, and the AB would be kind of similar to A but having some traits from A, similar to B but having traits from A. So yeah,
everything that they're consuming is a whole food diet anyway. So if someone's coming off another study and they're finding remedies, I would feel that study would have to be so vast over so many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, to be able to get something so specific as that. I'd have to look into it a bit more and see these studies. But the list type A is saying artichoke, arugula, asparagus, beets, broccoli, celery, endive, fennel, garlic, kale, lettuce, mushrooms, watercress, Ezekiel bread, and oat bran that are acceptable for consumption. I mean, everything on it is vegetables. There's only one type of meat on an AB diet, which is lamb. The rest are vegetarian. This is what this is saying on this chart here.
And O would have like every meat and predominantly meat, and B would have like
got no meat on this one, so maybe it's just. I
on
mean, O has no meat on
O
this.
has no meat.
Separate,
okay,
so
in the book, it's in the book always kind of always kind of the caveman, right? There's a big chapter on evolution in the beginning of the book, which I quickly skipped. But if this father and this son is not lying about what they found, like the whole thing is a big lie, then it's intriguing, I have to say.
You can make science out of anything, because the studies aren't necessarily perfect themselves. Like, if it was to do with people finding themselves healing from disease, or what was the type of studies including? Were people sick and they tried to get them better? Were they not thriving?
Lots of testimonials and everything in the book. So
because every single food on there, if someone's coming from a normal diet and they just eat these whole foods, they're going to feel a lot better anyway, even if it's got meat in it. But it's interesting. We should take a look, just because you brought it up.
I see Helen mentioned she did it and struggled as an O, because she's an O, as it was meat mainly and I'm not keen. And that's fair enough, of course. It's just interesting to, because maybe it was a moral issue, or was it taste and effects? I don't know. Yeah. But I'm struggling, because there needs to be. I'm not gonna rest until I find the factor that makes it individual, or is it just mine?
I feel like essentially we're all from the same brush. Even though we do have different types of blood, we're all human beings. And
yeah, but when you think of it, I'm sorry, but the blood, it's it's kind of a big part of us, right? It's all encompassing. And
Okay, let me just take this. What does meat offer you more than any type of vegetable? And where does all the meat get the food from that's energy stored inside the muscle? It's just a secondary source for any type of plant life.
probably, I don't know, but
Because anything that's in meat is going to be in veg because everything comes from plant life. It all stems from the photosynthesis of the plants, and it goes into the animal kingdom, into us. Now, a carnivore is getting something as a secondary source, for sure. And we have these predators that are slowly diminishing over time, getting smaller and smaller and smaller by the nature of consciousness. And for human beings, for one, if there was a different type of blood type and a different behavioral pattern, such as different instinctual patterns, let's say a type O blood, when an animal ran past, they felt instinctively a drive to chase it, hunt it, and consume it, then that would be a logical pathway. I think studying the blood, there may be some more beneficial nutrients or a different ratio of nutrients that exist in a different blood type, but the body will naturally take what it needs and expel what it doesn't. And
yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I'm just a curious guy.
Of course.
And
what makes you feel best, and what I think you should always do what makes you feel best and have your own individual quest
for
and
sure.
find your homeostasis there. But we do have, Karen says she did it too. Heidi says she did it, being a bold A type, and it worked for her. But she means blood. And as you're saying, it worked for you. Were you coming off a standard diet and moving towards a plant-based diet? And in what way did it work? Did it make you feel better? And did it involve any types of meat? And do you feel better now?
She was A, so that was probably A is a vegan, also more or less. It's no meat recommended for an A, blood type A. You know what kind of, because there's other people talking about these lectins. You remember lectins earlier? This Stephen Gundry, this former heart surgeon who started to tell everybody to drink olive oil. Food was only a medium to get olive oil into the body. That was his.
Of course.
But he sold the olive oil, by the way. But he mentioned lectins. He wrote a book called Plant Paradox, and there's the lectins are the issue, right?
Yeah.
And I actually in this book as well, it says that lectins are the issue. That's the problem. And lectins are kind of a glue that binds blood cells and different things together. It can work beneficially as well because some lectins have the ability to, for example, collect cancer cells. So it's in a chapter in the book. A lot of foods can work as in medicinal way, but of course the same food can be a problem for the other blood type. So it's not just straightforward. One thing working for one is not working for another, and I think we see that in real life.
I think people are too inconsistent though, and they change too quickly because they, are faced with their ego and fear and other influences rather than their intuition. So most people are not really led by their inner senses. They just try one thing to the next because they're really searching to feel better. Like we've had many people with us who, healing their disease, and then they go to somebody who's in a Ayurvedic practitioner, then it becomes worse. And these people are healing people with the ideas, and it's too much, and they can't handle the simplicity of it. But lectins themselves, what are they in? I mean, they're not in any fruit that grows from any tree.
Well, actually, that's fruits.
That you might find them in like a vine fruit, like a tomato.
No, there's lectins. I think there's lectins in all based by this book. I am left with the feeling that there's lectin in all foods. Lectins in meat. There's lectins in everything, and it has a different effect on the different blood types. And if you think as much blood as we are, and if it's like, okay, I have this type, you have this type, you can't get blood from me because it's different blood. And being that such a big part of the body, I don't find it unbelievable that it should be affected by different things. Like the different blood types is affected by different things. They withstand better things, different things, and worse other things. But when you combine that with the fact, or do you know, can you tell me why our blood type is not something in our journal at the doctor's? Unless you have taken it at one point and it's there and it's filed and something, but normal.
You mean the
If you want,
importance of it? Because I think obviously most children, I think they take the blood to make sure they know what blood type they are to be able to help with blood transfusions and
yeah, but
things like
yeah, okay,
this.
but at this time you've gone into the kind of you want to kind of give blood, or you want to, so of course you will find out. But if you not ask for it, or you go to the military, in the military you will get the dog tags and it will say your blood type. But in the normal world, your blood type is a big secret. It's not a big secret, but it's not next after your name like it should be in a medical journal, as long as blood types are different and they are so special, and if you need it, and right, so it should be a part of it, but it's not. You can't even call your doctor and ask for your blood type. Maybe some doctors, if you have done it before, will have it on register, but normally no. You have to take a test to find out your blood type. And I'm have to ask, like, why such an important thing in your journal? It should be there.
I
But
think
I
they
have a
are in the
theory.
UK. I'm not sure about your country, but I obviously not with my son, but when I was born, I know that my family were very keen on the blood type, so they knew what we were.
Yep,
I'm not
but
sure if there's
maybe
a
if they
common
asked.
practice.
Okay, in the comment field, like um how many of you know your blood type? Like okay, if you know it, you have asked for it at one point. But if you never thought about it, you never go to the doctor.
Mm. I mean, it's a good concept to, focus on, but again, do you really need to know your blood type without any type of instrument? You'd never know your blood type. All you have is you in nature and the things that make you feel good. And anyone that's ever stuck to unless there's deficiencies, are stuck to a whole food diet, for one, they're going to feel great. And predominantly, I would say that the lectins are found in the foods that I would not really recommend. Like you can still consume these foods, of course, but like the potatoes, the nightshades, the tomatoes, the lentils, the beans, the pulses, the seeds, the grains, the leaves.
Mm.
And I just typed it in here. There are no lectins in fruit, and it says that fruits are regarded as very, very low in lectins. And in one study, dates, lemons, pomegranate apples, plums, sweet oranges, tangerines were tested and found that to contain no lectins. Um, but something that is found in a food which binds things together, for example, uh, let's say like the fiber that holds the water content in it is necessary, but the body eliminates it, and the body's very good at eliminating things. But such as I think they call it the carbohydrate binding protein. So lectin is a form of protein, and proteins are a structure that's already been created. Now, if that's binding to carbohydrates, it's taking a source of fuel because it needs a source of fuel to be excreted. But if it's in the natural kingdom, then you have to unveil so many things like the hybridization of food, what's our original food, and then it just opens up such a big can of worms, which just leaves one in a state of despair, not knowing, and then suffering. And all we really truly have is what's available around us and a sensitivity to life and within ourselves for this journey. And for me and for so many people who actually apply themselves, the fruit and vegetable kingdom is just an effortless diet to live on. And maybe there's no lectins in fat because it binds to carbohydrate. And if it binds to carbohydrate, it's not going to want to bind to fat. And the thing that sorts out the fats in your body is your lymphatic system, your waste system.
Okay, I'm just going to make a side note to those listening. I'm not trying to find something to kind of. I believe that I'm going to say it again. I believe that the natural fruits are our original food. It has to be. But a lot has also. I don't want to be I'm not trying to kind of puncture frugivore.
You need
By no
to,
means.
if you're questioning it, you need to try to find a way to disprove things, which is a good thing. It's great to open discussions on things that bring a broader spectrum of information in. Of course, I think the beauty of the journey that I had, it was just a space of just food elimination and reintroduction, and then recognizing the subtleties of what each food does to the body and sharing it. Because if you just take yourself to a place of purity, I had a talk which Michelle is just editing now. We did it together with Vegetable Police Casey yesterday.
Yeah.
And he did a 21-day water fast, and he broke his water fast because someone on the internet said that the best thing to do is break it with raw eggs. And he's a wonderful guy, having a wonderful journey, like a wonderful journey. Just experimenting, taking himself on ideas that are thrown around and seeing what the results are. But he ended up in the emergency room, and he had to call an ambulance because of the way he felt. Really felt like he was dying. And the only thing that kind of brought him to life after he was in the emergency room was a juice. Now, someone's telling somebody somewhere to break your long water fast with raw egg. And people, will try it because there's information out there. And knowing we're in the age of disinformation, there are disinformation agents out there that are there to disconnect you from your belief by information that sounds shocking and appealing to somebody that's trying to heal. So just be careful and use your discernment. And I feel like that's where we always go back to our true senses and our instincts. And then just have a few days off of food and water. And what would you be inclined to take? Would it be the legumes? Would it be the nuts? Would it be the seeds? Would it be, chunks of animal with the hair on? Or would it be a fruit? And when you do break your fast, try it with fruits first, because you're not going to be in pain. And if you want to experiment, try breaking your fast with a vegetable, try breaking your fast with nuts and seeds and meat, and see how the body in its pure state deals with it. And you will know.
Yeah. Actually, I love Vegetable Police. He's funny. I actually looked for the video because you mentioned you were going to do it, and I was actually just at his channel before we went on to see if it was there. And I ended up seeing another one where he made, the zucchini spaghetti with the dates and tomato sauce.
Yeah.
He actually took credit for the recipe, but he mentioned you in that video as well.
He's amazing, and I'm really glad that we got time to speak, because he's another one that's kind of the attention's going off one idea to the next, and it's not really feeling 100%. So we give him some tips, had just a nice conversation, and he'll upload it on his channel, and I will on mine.
Perfect.
First on the website, and then onto the channel. But Michelle's just going to put some pictures up so it can, bring to light some of the things which we're saying. But Helen said, Josh, would you suggest not eating tomatoes? No, you eat your tomatoes, and you grow some lovely ones in Portugal this year. And if someone's chronically ill and is having allergies to such things like lectins, then it's best not to. But if you sit fine with them, I would not limit yourself.
I'm sorry. I'm just gonna mention something from the book. I'm not saying, but regarding actually, since that was asked, tomatoes in the book with the blood types, actually no one is in the book it says everyone should avoid tomatoes. Nobody handles the lectins in the tomatoes.
I do.
Allegedly. You do, of course, yes.
The thing is, you limit yourself. You have nothing, and you see everyone around you what they're eating. Like I say on the chat yesterday, my nan is 94 years of age, and my granddad's like 95, and they are both active in the garden still. They ate from their garden. They're more than not whole food, but they do consume meat, cheese, things like that. So they don't consume it regular, but they wake up, their breakfast is fruit, their dinner is like salad and vegetables and fruit, and then they might have an evening meal that has something cooked in it with some meat, maybe some eggs and some dairy and things like that. So they're still happy, they're still healthy, and to be 95 and experiencing this life and still going to church every Sunday, it's a wonderful thing. We can search so much that we just spend a section of our life in fear of what we're consuming. So just if it feels good with you, no matter what it is, eat it. If you're in disease, there needs to be some change. And the best way to figure out what's good for you is to clean your system out. Evolve yourself from a whole food plant-based diet to a raw diet, and that raw diet to eliminate greens, leafy greens, into a fruit-based diet, into a juice fast, into a water fast, and then introduce the foods that you're questioning. See how they feel with you. And you'll know. And then once you've found foods that are negative or don't work very well with you, bring balance by introducing foods very slowly into the type of system that you want to eat with. And don't limit yourself. You're here on a spiritual journey, and everything physical is within inside yourself. So don't trap yourself within your mind, because it doesn't matter what you do here, you're still going to remain the same. You're still going to remain the great one who creates effortlessly in its lucid state. And in the lucidity of Lucifer, who is the light bearer of all things, is the screen that we see that we can fall trap into the world and believe that this external seeing is what there is. Not knowing the true source of God, that is yourself, who is creating this effortlessly in an experience that is manifest and beautiful and so phenomenal. And just do your very best. And a part of this show, I wanted to speak about the temple or the Templar or the Solomon and the Freemasons. And this is all about building this body into a temple. And on the journey of life, you're questioned with so much misinformation, disinformation, some truths, but the truth can only be experienced through yourself. So you must walk this path. But there must come a point within inside the building of this temple that you have to realize that the temple is physical. And the idea must be destroyed. You must be free and liberated, but also liberated from the idea of liberation. You must be conceptless. So use your tools wisely. You have been given many. You've been given an intellect that keeps one alive unconsciously. You've been given a body with 5 senses and an energy system that takes you beyond the 5 senses. Do you interact as the body on a day-to-day basis? Are you aware of the energy that lies behind the body that has an effect through expression amongst all things? The intention that you have has such great measure within the relationships that you build. Can you observe the energy in others? Can you still be deceived? You have so many layers to this physical nature. Clothes, for example. You're looking around in the world now and everything's a recycled plastic turned into clothes, and plastic blocks the field that's regenerating and recycling the field within your body. So ideally you want to be wearing cotton or hemp clothes because these are perfectly in harmony with your body and the ether and the energy field. Do we take care in the water we drink? Have we figured out a way that we wish to sit? Do we believe in mineral water, spring water, distilled water, Berkey filter water? That's one of the things which the vegetable police was using for a long time, is a Berkey water system. And he found out that the filter was actually made from aluminium. Do you want aluminium in a heavy metal that can break the blood-brain barrier? Do we consume garlic? Do we not? Onions, garlic, chilies. Garlic is a neurotoxin. It kills brain cells every time you consume it. People don't like to hear this because they don't want to know anything that's going to take them away from the joy of eating, which is fine. You don't need to. It actually stops the communication between the left and right hemisphere. This can be tested. There's so many layers to this food system. I just wish everyone to be happy and sit with a diet that feels good. If you like eating garlic, you should consume it. If it fits okay with you, then eat it. But for me, on a journey to try to find out what was the ultimate true free food, I eliminated it and reintroduced it, and I felt what it did to the body. I know that it is a toxin. I know that it went straight into my lymphatic system. I could feel it everywhere. The whole body was at dis-ease. The same with onions, but they're not quite as bad. Chilies are very much the same. Anything that picks you up and is very addictive must come down, and you're finding instability. And another thing with garlic, it keeps your state of body energy out of the alpha wave, which is the state of meditation. So it can make people very irritable and more angry. And if you look at the history of yogis, garlic would be out of the question because of this fact. The royal family, they don't eat garlic. They don't eat onion and garlic. And a lot of people believe it's because it's smelly on the breath. But I think it's deeper than that. Not that they're vampires and they shouldn't eat garlic.
Oh, you never know.
How do you express your body? Do you give your body the time that it needs to stay supple? Do you sit with a great posture? Is your attention sometimes drifted too far away from yourself that you're lost in the world and the concepts out there and the agitation that it brings, the suffering because there's something wrong? Have you met your inner tutor? Are you guided by intuition? Are you guided by thoughts? Can you recognize the difference between a thought and the intuition? Have you sensed the synchronicity with the actions you take and the response within the world around you? Or do we suffer with the unanswerable question from the concepts that exist within the matrix? It's so wonderful to get an information upload and really try to dig yourself in a space to find the truth in a world where there is no truth. This is why the information that you seek is so compartmentalized, and everyone has to do a food system that sits right with them, because nobody wants to be told what they're doing is wrong. And only when one seeks, they will find. So it's no good pushing information out here to anyone. If someone's ready and they're looking to heal, the only way that they're going to really find it and know it is a food system, a trial and error, and an elimination. And some people may fall straight into trying something which works for them. The body is designed so well. You look around you, you have children brought up on formula, which has whey in it, fluoride, so many heavy metals. We're having children cut from their mother through the stomach, having cesareans. You look into the study of cesareans with cows, and the cattle walk away from their children. All of these things are okay. We just have to remain unaffected. Let the world do what it does. Just take a look at ourselves. The most important thing is we're free from the war within. You have a war between good and evil, but something within you is consistently watching and is aware of this war that is effortless, that is free. If you can find that aspect within yourself, and there is no judgment to be made with inside the physical nature, and marry your physical being, your experience with this self, You see the light within the world, and all things are absolutely perfect and as they should be. Those that are led need to be led. Those that are in suffering need to be suffering. Those that are having an experience of extreme wealth are just as distracted as somebody who is very poor and suffering through poverty. To have all of the things in the world and to be balanced is the way forward. For me, on my journey, I got lost in the world. I got lost in information. My intellect was very powerful. I spoke very fast. I tried to put unconsciously a force onto others with the ideas that I had. Because in me, personified, I believed that everyone needed to know. And I was the one suffering. And in my suffering, I created suffering in others. Do we want to do this? Can we come to the realization that it is only us who can make a difference within ourselves? And that will take us on a journey. And over time, you will come into a more balanced state of peace through inner revelations that happen. One of the most amazing things that happened to me was after being with nature, disconnected from all things. Everything that I ever desired as an intellect came to fruit. All of the knowledge that I had synchronized, and I understood why everything was as it was, and I began to see the divinity and perfection in all things. My eyes turned from the content into the field, and never again did I make a judgment on anything. Everyone has this capability. This is why I share words and the importance of words, because the words is just the expression of consciousness. You start to awaken within inside the dream. You'll see that everything in the dream is leading you to a state of awakening, but the eyes that were given to you were in such a way that it wasn't able to be seen. The innocence, the presence, the immaculate conception. These are words that religion has thrown around for so many centuries, if not millennia. Something is hidden there trying to tell you that the presence is only found in before the senses. It's not there with sense. The innocence is in no sense. You can't have senses to be innocent. Something is innocent and it doesn't have a sense. The senses are within the body. The Immaculate Conception is free from any ideas, any concepts, any conflict. But that sits in the highest seat within yourself, is here, has always been here. Those that are searching for truth are looking outside of it. And your truth, the very truth that you are, created everything. But it was your attention that slipped off yourself and went into the world of manifest. And for a moment in time, you believed that you were the body which was created by the very great mind that you are. This world is of suffering. If your attention goes into the world, into the person, into the ideas, into the mind of the person, we cannot find peace. Within the Bible, it says 10 times that God is not a respecter of persons. God doesn't have an opinion or a choice to respect or not to respect. Respect is to spectre, which is spectrum, which is a spectacle, which is sight, which is God could never see through the eyes of a person, which is the persona, the mask, the personality, the preferences, the opinions that we make through the life that we have perceived, experienced. And now we have a set program or a programmable intelligence that is the ego that makes choices and decisions to the very best which it knows. The true AI, the real artificial intelligence, is that which has been created within your awareness. That is your identity as a person. This is where the conflict lies. If you free yourself from this, there will be a time where you recognize that life is everlasting. It doesn't matter what choices you make. Every choice that is made is right. Nothing is bad or good. Everything just is. And what is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Make your choices, experience what you wish to experience, have as much fun as you can. I'm sure that most people will have the heightened experience when they turn to the real creation, which is found in nature. That will nurture you. It will bring you closer to yourself than you could ever be without having to do anything. The world and the matrix is a construct that builds on the heightened personification of man. But the world can be enjoyed too. Balance is the key. Everything is balance. This is why we have these wonderful words, leave, to leave. It's all about even. To exit, you must exit, and X is balance. X marks the spot. This is the treasure that the pirates were seeking. Now, if they're following a scripture which is hidden and occult, trying to find the secrets, when they were told that X marks the spot and they were searching everywhere for this treasure, it's only found within. The greatest treasure of all. The gold, which is gold D, the gold of your form, which is the scattered, fragmented light of your chakra system, your energy system, which is blocked by your illusion, which is blocked by fear, by greed, by lust, by anger, resentment, pride. The virtue system is the key to your freedom. If you study your environment, you study your behavior, the reactivity is a choice. You don't have to identify with the thoughts of the mind. You don't have to engage with any of them. They will come and go. It's a wonderful art. This is the thing that we should be giving our attention to. If you're nourished, if you're healthy, if you're not a disease, continue to do what you're doing. Experiment. But if you're good, focus on this. See that the mind has some incredible ways to take you. You think that you're being charitable by giving someone who's homeless some money and it feels good, but what is it that's feeling good? And why did you have to give the money? Why could you not let it be unseen? Can you give charitable ways? Can you be charitable without the recognition of charity? It's the self-gratification that the ego lies within. Do you compliment others because you want them to compliment you back? Does anger arise within you because you're impatient? This is the subtleties that lie here that must be mastered if you're looking to complete this life. Otherwise, you still identify physically, you still identify as the person, as the mask wearer. You will be recycled and reborn to another experience to try to separate yourself from the identity of the person to recognize your source. Your source is so profound that you spend your life looking for something that you already are and looking from, but it can never be seen. It's beyond everything. Your source is nothing, but yet everything. It is dark, but yet it's light. Can you identify that which you truly are? all the time and all the energy, no matter where you are. You can sit in a contemplative manner and question these things. What is it that is aware of the one searching? What is it that even sees the one who is aware and searching? Something so great, something so powerful, something which is effortless and doesn't need force, something that when you are in union with, there's a massive shift in your energy field, a great healing takes place, and you have dropped the weight of the world that was on your shoulders, and a sense of liberation and freedom rises within you. You can walk through this experience remaining unaffected by anything that happens in life. This is the way to live. Don't get lost. Don't try to find. You are that which is never lost and can never be found.
Thank you. That was perfect. Do you see some questions? I haven't had the time. I haven't looked into it. I just, actually, I saw a good another channel practicing a thing that's a good thing. Like if you have a question, they write it in capital letters.
Okay.
Because if it's a question, you can write it in capital letters, and if it's just like chatting, you can just do it the normal way. This is a good idea because it's easy to find. I'm just gonna quickly just finish on the point I was trying to make before about the blood types, and I'm gonna be done. Not diet wise, but why it's not in your journal. Like
yes, please share with us.
So if our blood type was in our journal, like like your date of birth, like it was there in everybody, I have a theory that it would be easy to make correlation between different issues and diseases compared to the blood type if it was there. I think it would, after years and years and years, it would, you would see correlation. Somebody would pick up some correlation between things, and it's just a theory, of course, but of course,
all diseases are going to be found in the blood for sure. And I think the stem of every disease is fungus, bacteria, and
yeah, there's no doubt. But if it's different triggers for the different types, then it's so it will make the whole thing very individual, right? So it would be difficult to find some correlation without having the blood type to compare to. But it's just a theory. Let's leave it.
It's just, if you see that, like within the bloodstream, you have viruses, fungus, and bacteria. A sense of cleaning the blood is important, and eliminating fuel for these hosts is one. But eliminating them for a short period of time, you have like a lymphatic system, and these like to sit deep within inside the lymphatic system, and then they can be reborn. Like, let's say herpes virus, so the herpes virus you can clean from the blood, and then it'll just reactivate itself because it lays dormant within inside the lymphatic system. So what we're trying to do when we're healing is essentially become like light within. So within the body, electromagnetism or the electromagnetic healing is one thing which is great, because the body in alignment is this. In disease, it's not this. So disease comes from many things, like we just spoke of, with thought, identification, stress that comes from even the search, the conspiracy world, but day-to-day life, when you have expectations and disappointment and and fear, anxiety, depression, all of these things, but also in alignment with the food. So if the electromagnetic spectrum of light is these colors that we see, now light is found in living foods, such as, the fruits that we see, the vegetables that we see. And consuming these foods over a longer period of time, your body's going to naturally align itself with a higher field in its felt, for sure. Anyone that's done this or goes on to even a solely fruit-based diet, they feel lighter, they feel flamboyant, they feel freer. There's a lower level of stress. It's just a totally different energy field within the body. Now, you can do things that take you beyond, which help you eliminate the viruses and fungus and bacteria from the body, such as blood electrification, which has been studied and found. I mean, I have patent numbers that I can share if people are interested. But there was a study done where they take the blood out, electrify it, and put it back in, and it heals everything you can imagine, from AIDS to herpes to viruses to all disease, cancers and things like this. But it's a very long process and can take months for that. So there was this implant created that you put into the arm here, and basically it would send pulses throughout the body and clean the blood through electrification, and everything would be, died. The blood would be clean. The blood would be immortal blood. It wouldn't die. It's just this incredible fresh blood without any parasites or hosts inside of it. The viruses that are dormant can, like I said, exist in the lymphatic system. So electromagnetic pulsing within the system is a great way to rid the ones that are living in the nodes. Over time, the body's just pure again. If you can continue to consume foods that are causing these hosts, they'll just reappear. But also in that purity, you allow time with the fruits to regenerate the body. These things can be made at home. These things can be made very cheaply. They can be bought cheaply. Even such things as colloidal silver, it doesn't really offer, a huge amount of benefits. The best way to do it is to create and make it yourself. You can make it from a 9-volt battery with silver wire. So pure silver wires, put it into your cup for 3 minutes, and you have ionized silver water. Now, for somebody who is in disease, it's great. It helps eliminate pathogens from the body. It doesn't really do much more than help deal with what's being done. So if someone has AIDS, they've got this acquired immune deficiency and things come into the body, then it makes the body very poor at dealing with certain things that are in the body. So something like colloidal silver will help manage that, because people who die with AIDS don't die of AIDS, they die of something that came into the body, or a host or a pathogen. So, when somebody comes, with such a severe chronic disease like that, you must take your path straight into the food system that's going to basically transform you slow and steadily into the highest food eating. Because there is no greater healer than this, for sure. 100%, we see it, and we've seen it for such a long period of time. And every single one of my family members, bar me, had healed their chronic disease in doing so. And we've seen it through thousands of other people. So, you would recommend, when someone's actually decided to take on board the journey, truly, the transformational food system, into a water fast, preferably of an extended period, then they apply these things. There's nothing that's really ever going to stop the healing, which is incredible. And anyone that really seeks healing will find it, truly will find it. But it is a journey, and you can be misled. But there is a pattern out there which, is not been brought. I think it was from the 90s. It's not been brought to light. It can't be really on the mainstream, but it's something that you can create a device yourself. I think the electromagnetic device you can create off 130 turn copper wire that's connected to a battery. and then connected to a flash of an old camera. But there's ways to do this. There's scripts out there. There's information that you can find for these things. There's also places you can purchase them, but it's much cheaper to build these things yourself. Sorry, I was just looking at a question that arose. Doesn't Kundalini rising give you new blood? What happens to your old blood and how is it eliminated? You know, it's not something that you really can test, but the field changes. So let's say you were electric, now you're magnetic, you're electromagnetic. That field is balanced. Every torus field imbalance creates new light, which is the spectrum of light on the inertia plane. And if everything is a torus field within physicality, you're essentially balancing yourself to reveal reciprocation once again. And when you're centered, everything at the center of a magnetic field aligns itself to perfection. So over time, there's a great healing and cleansing that takes place. But I'd say it's more at the DNA level, and then the DNA obviously will then go into the processes of synthesizing new blood. And naturally, as an elimination process, your blood is in the urine, and you get clearer and cleaner over time. But it doesn't mean you won't have issues. It just means that a lot of issues will naturally and spontaneously heal. But if you continue to treat the body, negatively and consume things like alcohol and processed foods, your body will have its time. But that realization, you don't really mind, because you know that it's just a dream.
Mm-hmm. I just saw Sverre. We know we've done it before, but we can do it again. Sverre has bought a drinking bottle made of copper. How often should one drink water from these? Can you get too much copper into the body?
I think if you keep it in there between 2 and 7 hours, it's perfect. You'll be absolutely fine. You can keep it in there up to 24 hours. Test yourself. You don't really need to keep it out of the copper. You can always keep your water stored in copper. It serves as a great purpose. Essentially what's happening with copper is anti-magnetic, so it's not magnetic, so it contains no negativity from a magnetic type of metal. Is positively electrically charged, so it helps turn electric or turn the water into like a positively electrically charged. It's antibacterial, antimicrobial, but in its changing of a positively charged electron, you have all pathogens are negatively charged, so it has the ability to neutralize them. So it's just a great way to consume your water, especially in this day and age. And if you could, step the water game up, I would recommend distilled water for sure. Just a pure, clean water with not even a single electric charge in it. And then you bring it to life with some copper or some silver and allow it to do what it's supposed to do within the body. It's to pull, clean, and cleanse anything that is not supposed to be in the body out.
Finn has a question as well. Would you say self-realization is the gem that everyone is searching subconsciously?
It is the only reason for the experience that we're having. It's the only reason. Everyone's experiencing many different levels of evolution. But evolution is essentially going round until human form is realized its true source. So the next experience can be one of a great knowing and experiencing what you perceive to be good and bad here through your recognitions for instantaneous manifestation of just experience. So whatever you choose to experience, whoever you choose to experience it with, can be just instantaneously here and now. And to have that control, you have to be in a deep state of, silence and meditation, and a great practitioner of it here physically. This is why some people choose to go to mountains to sit there, because They're not in the body. They're not of the body. The body is in them and of them. And they're experiencing something else, even more real than this. But it's only the ego which holds on to physicality because it believes it is the body through the intelligence that has manifest within the mind of the great.
Brother Aaron Veltre also has a question regarding water. He's asking about the hydrogen gas therapy or Brown's gas breathing therapy from George Weiss.
Where's the question? Is it quite near the end?
Yeah. A bit above the one you took with Tara Marie. 2, 3 above. Aaron Veltre. It has question with big capital letters. Yeah.
Heard hydrogen. Have you guys heard of hydrogen water, hydrogen gas therapy, or Brown's gas therapy breathing? Yeah, I mean, for somebody who's been brought to light with this type of water, feel free. It's quite expensive to go through and experience yourself. If you're in sickness and disease, sometimes these things are beneficial to people that aren't necessarily changing their lifestyle and changing their diets too much, and they find remedy with it. But in my own experience, it's not something that I have, seen to have great effect. But it may have in other people's experiments and experiences. So, try it. Feel how you get on with it. Some people say that they really, truly feel the very difference of it. I haven't really felt any difference with it, but it might be taking a better effect on somebody that isn't so, clean in their body, the vessel.
Slashwa has he asks, or she, I don't know actually, thoughts on rebounding. I'm not sure what
type of rebounding. Is it a rebounder for fitness? Is it about taking yourself to a different level of food and then going back to your food? We're here still, so if you're still here, just let us know.
Slashwa, elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, but if it is on rebounding, I wouldn't take a thought to it if it's to do with anything with food or something like that. Just let it go. It's a part of the process. What is important is that you're aware of what's happening. So you're aware that you have a will to stop something, and you're aware that you rebounded, and in you there's an awareness that you shouldn't, have taken that route, and that's fine. But don't let the idea manifest. You don't need to have any type of suffering. You can just let it go and take no thought to it, because naturally with your awareness comes the experience that's going to be within the next level, which you'll find that, when you stop smoking due to the awareness, not because you have an idea that you want to stop smoking, because ideas just come and go and they kind of take you from, the ability to action things. The more you're aware of your mistakes, just the more you're going to get better at it.
Husky has a question about mom, because mom got the kidney disease. They say kidney disease is not reversible or no reversible. Any advice?
Yeah, it's not reversible by any standards of medical practices, for sure, because a lot of the medicines that people get taken is liver toxic. If she's really interested, you can just get her to reach out. We'll have a one-on-one conversation for sure, because somebody who is interested, I'm here for them. But the best thing to do is what we've spoken about earlier, is just, if she's on a Western diet, just transition onto a whole food diet for a week or two. Symptoms will start to get better. Then convert her into like a raw food diet where she's focusing on predominantly raw fruits. And don't forget, fruits are anything that contains a seed. And then just give her some time on a fruit-based diet, and give her some moments on fasting through juice fasting and water fasting, and work our way through and keep eating back to a whole food plant-based diet. And she should be able to sit there. It's not something that shouldn't take too long. If you give her, 4 months, just tell her that she doesn't experience any sort of healing within the first month, or doesn't feel better, then don't try it any further. But, something so simple and effortless as this is definitely the remedy for someone in her situation, for sure. And it's so quickly, it happens so fast. But she has to be ready and a part of her journey. So if any advice, if she's open, just, give her this information. If she's not open, just spend whatever time you have with her, giving her the best of yourself, being kind, loving, caring. Don't force her to do anything.
Larry has maybe not a question, but let's say a claim or a observation or I would say claim. Colloidal gold and colloidal platinum have spiritual properties and raise your vibration. True or false?
False. Spiritual is another concept, but nothing physical will take you to spiritual. And to say that correctly is everything physical is of the spirit. So it's all been manifested inside the great spirit, but nothing within the physical will lead to any heightened spiritualness. Colloidal silver, colloidal platinum, colloidal gold, the properties. You see, this is sometimes where we have like gold and metals, the confusion of like philosopher's stone, philosophy, philocipher, the cipher to lose the physical nature of yourself, and gold being the ultimate, gold turning this lead body into gold. But the dense body of our physical nature and the ideology or the personification that we have with it and the identity we hold is what's holding us down. And through the illusion centers, let's call each chakra system that we have or energy system is attuned to a vibration which is blocked by the illusions that we carry. And all illusions are what we spoke of earlier. So fear, anxiety, depression, future, past, anger, hatred, resentment, desires. So even a desire, to have no desire is a trap. So you have to be the desirelessness, or the one who has no desire. Oh no, I mean, absolutely not. But feel free to tamper with these things. But it's more of an alignment within the physical body, which will help you move away from any type of imbalance that is there. Nothing we can do physically is going to bring us to the great revelation of what we truly are. But the processes that we spoke of earlier, like the Temple of Solomon ideology that we spoke of, is just through being conscious and being aware of what you're eating, making the right choices, being conscious of what you're washing in and what you're wearing, maybe what you're watching, what you're listening to, who you're friends with, how you treat people. If you have expectations of others, let them go. But essentially, when you've reached that point, all of this is irrelevant because none of it makes any difference. And then you can go on experiencing any type of experience that you wish without any conflict. So the world is your oyster then. But first you must overcome the world. And
He follows up. He follows up by saying, "Then I wasted hundreds of dollars on powdered gold ormus trying to attain enlightenment."
Well, it was something that you needed to do. And now the idea that you wasted it could be something which is causing suffering. So if we just accept it and surrender the idea and continue, we are free. And enlightenment can never be attained. It is recognized. It is not something that you get, it's something that you are, but you have not been identifying with the right being. You've been identifying as the body and not as the self. It's just an inner revelation. It's just a recognition. So we can stop the search. There's no searching for this. It's here. It's now. It's you without any conflict. You're in it. You're in the experience of the great one who created the great work. The Big Bang. All of this came from nothing. But how? with an idea of the great mind. There just is. There's an isness about the self. It's always been there. It will always be there. Everything physical comes and goes. We try to hold on to things and we suffer. Just try to look for yourself. Don't look in the mirror. Just look for yourself. Sense that awareness that lives inside of you, that is everywhere, let's say. Is this sense of awareness. You're aware now with the eyes shut that there is nothing. You can hear some sounds, they arise. Are they arising out of you or are they arising within you? What is it that's seeing and is aware of this one, which is aware? It's a conundrum. Essentially, you're looking for something that is just what you're looking from. And you let go of the ideas that exist here and just see. This is what you are. You're this when you dream and you're aware that you dream. You're that which is aware of the one who is experiencing the dream within the dream. You see the other, you have communications, you might go back to school, you might turn up at school with no clothes on. I'm sure this is a reoccurring dream for most people. What is it that sees that? What is it that was aware of that? And what is it that sees the one which is aware of that? You want something physical to make you recognize you're spiritual. It's impossible. The more spiritual you are, is the one who thinks the least. The less thought, the more spiritually connected you are, because it is only thought that takes you.
And thought, I've come to the, or at least I feel that myself, that like I'm going by trust, right? Trust in that everything is perfect, and of course, much thanks to you. But everything is perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be, and I'm doing what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm. And
without
if you even
even
let go
trying.
of all of that, if you let go of all of that and don't pick up any of the idea, this is what you are. It's that, even that idea, which is the tuning to the higher field, but the one will be there without those ideas. And you sit with it until a thought tries to take you. And you look in awe at everything that's here, and you appreciate every experience that you have. Nothing is the same. Everything is renewed. Only the perception that you hold is, this is the same. I did this yesterday. I did this earlier. I told him not to do it. I told my children that I don't like them walking through the house in this. Now I'm suffering. You see, it's just a relationship with the mind that we have here. So many people will never ever, they'll experience heightened physicality, what you're experiencing there, but there's no need to look any further. You just collapse all ideas here and look and see if you can look without any thought. And if you can't, you focus attention so intensively here in the moment that there cannot be a thought. And any question that arises, surrender it. And you continually do this as a practice, and you can walk around free from any thought and any idea. You get heightened senses, you smell stronger, you taste better. And every relationship that you have is beautiful and simple, because there's no type of control over anything. Sorry.
No, I was just leaning back to take it in.
It is how simple it is, brother.
Yeah.
So simple.
I'm having like back to the trust thing. All religions are talking about, trust in God, trust in Buddha, trust in every deity you want. Like, but there's always trust. And if we don't know, or we maybe like what, there's not an agreement about what God is. So if you follow that advice, you can end up going a lot of different ways. But for me, like I believe God is everything, the universe, the creator, whatever, and in having.
What if it was the only, hang on. I hope this is heard. What if it was the only no thing? What if it wasn't a thing?
God
God is the only thing that is no thing.
or everything, or like,
So if you see that the only this is very hard to articulate. The only thing which is nothing is God.
yeah,
God is empty. God is the very consciousness or the awareness, let's say,
yeah.
that all things arise within.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is of God,
Mm-hmm.
but not as God.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what you're trying to say, but I was
Yeah.
just trying
So
to
by having
articulate.
trust
Mm-hmm.
in whatever, then for me, it's like what you just said, like for me it's done exactly that. Like I don't think as much. I can think, I can, like we talked about, contemplate and all these things, but I feel I'm a lot less, let's say, responsive to whatever comes into my experience.
Would you say that trust removes conflict?
Yeah.
Because if you don't trust your partner, you're forever in conflict, worried about her cheating on you or doing something
No,
that you don't want.
definitely. I think
So
trust eliminates everything. Like,
the idea of trust, I think, eliminates a lot of the conflict that we have. But I think the idea within religion of trust is hard for people to fathom because they're trusting something which they can't see or feel or touch. But that's very, very true. If you can really trust, you've eliminated any conflict about the idea.
I even tattooed it. Trust.
Hmm.
And the way, or the Tao, or whatever you want to trust. But trust is big. So when the Bible or other scriptures say trust in whatever deity it's about, it's actually saying trust in the universe, or trust in this consciousness, this awareness, and then that we should also trust whatever let's say the path it has for you, or at least that's how I see it. Like I'm trusting whatever I'm meant to do, I will do when it's time to do it.
Any idea of the future is just taking you away from here. If you can actually take the time to observe, you can enjoy everything that's here. Why think of the future?
That's
Just trust.
That's easier when you don't have to worry about the future, because what will be. And I don't
Exactly.
have to. I'm not. I will take what comes when it comes, and it
So
will
many
be.
ideas come up from that for intellectual people, though. How would I then create this idea of business? How would I do this? But all those things arise within, the self. And then you identify as the person and then begin to worry. But the self and the experience that you're having is to recognize this. And then after this, everything is very different. But you can still utilize the tools that you have as a human experiencer. You have an intellect, you have contemplation, you have the body movement, you have sight, smell, taste, touch. Get involved. Just don't suffer.
I don't.
It's just a choice, hey brother? It's just a choice.
It's all a choice, or is it?
Should I suffer today or
Or
not?
is
I mean, if it is when you recognize it,
Yeah,
of course.
the suffering part, yeah. But
Yeah.
do we really have a choice on our path? Like, how much can we deviate from the script?
I think if you become very conscious and aware, you have choices that you can make, but then you question that as the person, did I make that choice or not? Because you could be so involved with the person that you've lost, the connection to the self, which is just sat there observing. And if the question is, does the self make choices? The self watches everything arise. But that's the power within this great dream. You created a body, and that body has an duality aspects of separation, and you just need to find peace with it because it's great. This is great what we're experiencing.
It's
So
amazing. It's
it is
amazing.
the
You know what,
greatest
Josh? I
intelligence.
think we have to cut it. Think about cutting off because I'm gonna put my kids to bed. Caroline been in the hospital
do that.
today,
Yes.
so she's a bit. How do you say? Set back, not working properly.
Just thank you, everyone, for your time and energy being here with us. It's just a pleasure to spend time with you, brother, and everyone here in the comments.
Always.
I'm grateful for your time.
And of course,
tell your wife and kids that we love you. And
I will. And thank you, Josh, because without you, there wouldn't be a show at all.
yeah.
So thank you for your time. I know you're busy. Thank you for the ones.
Sorry, just quickly, there's a comment. It takes seconds. Is about Casey recommended gold for multiple sclerosis. We had someone that we were helping with MS who was, you would say, quite bad, and we started making them food, and within 5 days symptoms started to ease up. So please take a look at food first. It's the most important thing you could ever do. And if you have taken a look at food, then we take a look at something else. But I'm pretty sure every symptom that's experiencing is down to the negative impact of diet choices over time, and the body has just had enough. So take your time and try the food first because it's powerful. Sorry, thank you so much.
No,
brother.
sorry.
Thank you everyone for your questions. If we didn't answer them, we shall next week.
Rejoice.
Yes, next time.
Until next time. Thank you all. Thank you, Josh. Love you all.
Stay present. This is the gift.
Yes. Enjoy.